In HeroQuest, the wizard is a very interesting character to play. Looking at the four core characters, just as a framework, we've got the barbarian on one side, high attack, high health. Then we slide over to the dwarf, good attack, good health, but the ability to navigate traps. Then we have the elf. The elf attack power is reduced, but there's access to limited magic. You have choice of one of the schools of magic. And then all the way on the opposite side of the barbarian is the wizard. You've got high access to magic, the remaining schools, but your health is extremely low. We're talking four hit points, body points. And on top of that, a lot of gear is not based on the narrative of magic. A lot of gear is not necessarily available to you in terms of arms, armor, and equipment. Although there are some, no spoilers, interesting artifacts that you can use. So what we see in terms of player tactics and developing a party, especially if you're going to start pulling in some of the expanded characters or some custom characters that maybe you 3D printed, being aware of the role of the wizard and not loading up on tons of magic, but at the same time, not loading up on tons of might. So the primary aspect of the wizard is to utilize spells. And we're going to jump into greater detail with the spells, but just to kind of break them down into three categories. Damage dealing. Of course, the objective here is to utilize magic at range. Most of them are ranged spells. So what this means is the wizard, of course, needs line of sight and needs positioning. But in theory, we're going to try and keep the wizard safe. If there's the possibility to have line of sight to a monster, blast it with a spell and then move, or have line of sight to a monster, blast it with a spell and have another character move in front of you to block. That's where the tactics and the timing of the game get very, very interesting. The second category of spells are, of course, healing and buffs. We see the way to buff dice, to buff armor, to heal. That's massive because you're not expending healing potions. And generally, there's three types of heals in the game. One that you find based on searching in the dungeon, types of heals that you buy, which are going to cost you gold, and then heals that through magic or items are essentially free. I mean, of course, yes, you're limited for the quest, but they didn't cost you a gold piece buy-in. And then the third aspect of the spells are movement manipulation spells. And those movement manipulation spells work both against the monsters, putting them to sleep or stunning them, but also allowing you to have increased speed or pass through walls. Has there ever been a spell that have gotten more wizards and players in trouble than that? That's a vlog for a separate supporting tactica. But breaking the spells up into those three areas, the wizard is the ultimate support character. If you are rolling attack dice, things have kind of gotten really bad from that perspective. If you're that close to roll attack dice, that means either the entire party is gassed out, you're at the end of the quest, barbarian's got 7 hits, the dwarf's got 6 hits on there, you've got no healing potions, you've got nothing, and send the wizard to the front line because you've got to beat that last monster and grab that artifact and get out of there. Things have gone really interesting. Likewise, if you're making those attacks, that means somehow Zargon's gotten some monsters past the other players, or they've moved to a place where you couldn't block and they've moved around and now they're attacking you. The wizard wants to stay at range, utilize its spells, utilize its support, and not make any attacks because the huge, massive limitation, of course, is the fact that you have four hit points / body points. In theory, now the dice symbols are set up to favor certain outcomes, but in theory, the wizard could be one hit, could be instant killed on one shot. There is that possibility. Now, what this means is you need to be extremely conservative in a lot of interesting different ways. Because in theory, I can control the monsters to some extent. If I'm playing the wizard, I'm aware of tactica, I'm aware of positioning, with monsters that are revealed. Think about when you open a door and there are the monsters. You get an idea of where they are and how they're going to operate, and you're working with the other team. The positioning of the wizard is important because what really kills wizards, and this is from the perspective of playing them as a player myself, but also as an overlord, traps. You really want to make sure that the other party members with higher health are forging forward first, and your trap detector, if that's a dedicated like the dwarf or just someone else you've declared, they're sweeping things. They are. I do not want to break off. I mean, generally speaking, you never really want to break off the party. But I don't want to break off the party and say, send the barbarian and the wizard one direction and have the wizard wandering around, or if we're moving down a corridor or an aspect of the dungeon that's tight, and of course the wizard's in the back, and you say to yourself, well, okay, we're moving down, but why don't I just move to the left just to scout things out? Like just to see, are there a couple of doors up there? Because in the beginning, you're trying to build and figure out the overall layout of the dungeon based on clusters, based on, okay, here's potentially 4 or 5 rooms. Let's kind of get some doors leading in there on the outside that we see to get an idea. You're trying to build things out to get that framework. I don't want to be exploring with the wizard just to even see framework, because you don't know where a trap is. Trap hits you, you're hurt. Second, where the wizard is extremely vulnerable, and this is where a little bit of party sharing comes in, and this is a little bit where the wizard, they're going to advance a little bit slower. And when I say advance in HeroQuest, I mean earning gold that you're then going to shop. You have to be a little cautious with the wizard. Wandering monsters kill wizards, in that when you search, if you draw that, the monster spawns and it attacks the wizard. More wizards have been killed on that. I won't say being greedy, because look, searching is an important point in the game. Generally, when you search, you've got when you go on a quest, of course, you have the quest rewards. Okay, you're going to get a certain amount of gold, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. That, in theory, I say in theory because you have to survive the mission, is that guaranteed payout. Now, the secondary payout would be if there's dedicated treasure. These are usually treasure chests in the quest. You know something's going to be in there. Maybe it's a quest item, but even if it isn't, there's going to be some gold. So anytime you see a chest, it's that little happy dance. And then, of course, there's searching the rooms. Searching the rooms can give you some gems, can give you a treasure chest, can give you some gold coins in the narrative that all convert to gold. They can give you some buff potions or healing potions, but they also spawn traps and wandering monsters. Those are in the deck. Those are there. Now, you could, at the beginning of the game, you cycle up all the cards, shuffle them up. They're in there. You could count it as things get lower and they go to the bottom. You kind of get an idea of where the monsters are or how many are going to spawn. But it's generally an unknown to some extent, to some random. You pulling that as the wizard, you get hit in a trap, you get attacked by a monster, especially if you have a wound or two, that could get you killed. Now, you could mitigate that a little bit. If there's 2 hazards in the search deck, wandering monsters, spawns, and traps, you could, and this is a valid tactic. You're in a room, you beat down the monsters, you're going to search. Position the wizard in the corner, box the wizard in with the other characters. So the wizard's in the corner, supported by the wall corners, the dungeon corners, and then box them in with the characters. Wizard searches, wandering monster deploys. It's unable to deploy, so it deploys based on choice. And then we begin that. So that's a way you can shield any character, right? If a character's down for low health, you could search that way. But that still spawns a monster. That also does not protect you from the traps. So generally speaking, when I'm playing a wizard, I have to kind of keep this temptation, because I'm all about the loot. I want every single gold coin in that dungeon. I think I'm playing a rogue. But with that perspective, I realize with the wizard, I just don't have that staying power. So you have to be aware of that. You have to be okay with that. And on top of that, you have to master the use of your spells, because that is going to be the ultimate support of the party. In terms of playability, and I know certainly you become more experienced in HeroQuest and more opportunity of Tactica opens up. Likewise, if you're coming to play HeroQuest and you've played other dungeon-type games or war games, you bring that experience. There's a lot of experience that can port over to HeroQuest. And even if you're brand new to HeroQuest, after 3 or 4 quests, you really start to assemble a good Tactica toolkit. But I find even with that, playing the Wizard is one of the harder / more challenging characters in the game because you are expected for support. You're there for the magic. You're the big guns, but you are super vulnerable. And on top of that, learning the internal timing based on the quest, the spells are limited. You blast them out in the first couple of rooms, you gas out. Now you've got nothing left. You're just someone running around with a dagger or a low-level weapon, and you've got 4 points, 4 body points. I mean, really, you need to be careful of your pacing. So we've got the Barbarian on one side, the Wizard on the other, and the remaining characters somewhere in the middle.